Okay. Are we back? Are we back? Are we back? We are back. Excellent. See, I knew the moment things stopped popping up on screen that this was going to happen. This weekend has been really bad for my internet connection, and I don't know why. It's been really annoying. Anyway, apologies, everyone, for that. But at least now you can see the chat box, meaning we can have a conversation and you can see what's being said. Okay, so where were we? Yeah, I was just checking this out. So, how do I want to go about talking about this? As I said, I'm at the moment I'm at the refinement stage, so it's mainly, you've got something written, you're just checking the language, you're making sure you're checking it against other stuff, seeing how these are written, how these are laid out. Obviously, there's a slight difference in formatting, so which you need to just adjust for. But you want to make sure the language is roughly correct. But no, I mean, things are going all right for the channel at the moment. We've got back up to 3 streams. We may still dip to 2 streams some weeks, but as a general rule, we're trying for 3 a week, which is nice. It's been definitely nice to get back up to there. I'd like to get back into the headspace where I can do more games design and where I can do more YouTube videos, because that's something that's been falling on the wayside as YouTube has suffered. We're really struggling to get out our one video a week. Our one video a month. And then, but I guess that's why I partially wanted to do this stream. I wanted to do this stream because I could go, right, here are 2 hours I'm dedicating to this thing. That's something I've found that streaming has been very helpful for, is giving me a section of my week where I'm like, okay, I'm going to guarantee play a game that I'm interested in. Which sounds incredibly simple. Like, why don't you just do that anyway? But I don't know, it's like streaming gives, because you're streaming, you are allocating the time and you are making sure it can't be taken away by anything else. So effectively getting an hour or 2 of my, if I do it once a month or once every other month, where I can just couple of hours do some games design or something, and then have chat to talk to in the background. That'd be helpful. So most of this I did. But yeah. Okay. So Psionic focus. This is where we start to get weird, so this is where I have to start checking my language. You can use the energy, use focus on drawing benefits from it. You get 3 of your choice. Oh yeah, that section should be fine, because that's just copying Eldritch invocations from the Warlock. Okay, Sonic Talent die. Starting size of the D8. Yeah, that works. Description. Okay, so this is where we get into the weeds. Dealing damage with a Psion spell, you can expend 1 of your die. Roll the die dealing additional damage. Casting, if you rolled a critical hit, double the bonus damage dealt by the die. Okay. Body. British, we do not use the letter Z. So ignore that. Expected Psionic Talent die, roll and determine the size of the effect. All effects last at the start of your next turn. 1 minute outside of combat. Cool. Cool. No. This was a fun set of abilities. When making this class, the original reason I made it was because the Mystic had been released as a UA, which is fine. It gave us the promise of a Psion class, which would have been cool. But what ended up happening was we were not given the Psion class, Mystic class at the time. What happened was we instead had been given a bunch of little stuff, and it was like start level 5, then it went to level 10. I think eventually it did get to level 20. But it kind of got shelved because the feedback was no one liked it. But the problem was it was overpowered as hell. Well, no, that's technically incorrect. It is theoretically, on paper, overpowered in a very specific set of builds. The rest of it is generally balanced. The problem was it was very easy to get the broken builds. And I had a player who wanted to do Mystic. Start them on Mystic. It was okay. It wasn't great though. So what I did was I went, right, okay, listen. When we started the campaign, we went, right, the UA's out, deal with that. But the UA just, and when it gets a full release, you have to change. But we never got a full release. So after a while, I just got tired and decided if Wizard won't do it yourself. So part of my thing was trying to remove some of the broken elements, rebalance it, make it a bit more unique. Because the problem was it was a reflavoured cleric, and a lot of the abilities were just normal spells but filtered through a different system, and the subclass options were kind of meh. So, I tweaked it, tried to make it not just a psychic wizard or a psychic cleric. I wanted it to be something a bit different, you know, to pull upon some of the different psionic subclass elements that were already in the other classes that kind of gave you hints of what a psionic class could be. And tried to make a class out of it. So Sonic Aspect was kind of the first point where I made it a unique class. The reason for that being that we were kind of looking at Mystic and going, well, the abilities old Mystic had, the core class abilities didn't really stand out, and the subclass abilities had a little bit of flavour. So we wanted to make the core class more flavourful. And so I took Breath of Knowledge from one of the subclasses, just made a class ability. Kept Sonic focuses, but made them more like Eldritch Invocations. And then we had this Sonic Aspect, which kind of was a nod to Warlock, where you have your subclass, but then you have this pack choice at level 3. And whereas Warlock went down this very much, are you sword and magic, or magic with rituals, or magic with a pet, or the more recent one with Talisman, magic but support one person. I went with, well, why don't we go more metaphysical and go psionics is focused on the mind, the body, or the soul. So if you focus on the mind, you get a bonus damage. If you choose the body, you can actually do some body horror and flesh shape yourself to gain temporary effects. Or soul, you could resist an ability, or get your friend to resist an ability. So you kind of had a support option for if you didn't want to play a selfish Mystic. I kind of lent into the fact that if you go down psionics, the things you'll often hear people refer to are like Star Wars, Jedi, X-Men, certain mutant powers is kind of psionics. I mean, Professor X. So yeah, I kind of wanted to go down those lines and just go, well, what cool things could we do? So like body, let's have a look. So it was, you either got an immediate effect for a turn in combat, or you got a minute outside of combat. And it would take a bonus action, because you don't want to take an action in combat for a thing that lasts a turn. Walking speed, or a new speed type equal to the result rolling with Sonic die times 10. Okay, I might want to tidy up the language here, because it's like, you can increase your walking speed. To phrase this, because basically what I'm trying to say here is you could increase your walking speed, increase the speed you have already unlocked by your Sonic die times 10 to a maximum of 100 feet, or you gain a new speed whose maximum speed is up to 100 feet. Gonna mark that down here as a sometimes the best thing you can do is recognize when you need to look at something, but kind of go, I'm not going to focus on it right now. I'm just going to stop, think about it. Morph your body into a weapon, maybe growing claws, fangs, increasing Granon's damage by your damage roll. very good if you kind of multi-class into monk. But let's be fair, if you're a monk, you're already doing a ridiculous amount of unarmed damage. I'm not sure. What did we say it was? It's D6? Oh, D8. So at level 3 as a monk, you could get +1 D8 to your unarmed damage. You need 3 levels in it, though, so you're losing some of the good monk abilities. Yeah, that ain't too bad. Okay, animal-like traits, enhanced senses, or maybe chameleonic skin. Stealth, perception, survival, or animal handling check by that amount. That to be a reaction. Modify yourself to reduce the effectiveness of an enemy attack. That way, yeah, that way the order makes sense. It's basically you're buffing the next check you make. Modify yourself to reduce the effectiveness of an enemy attack. Reduce damage. Modify your body. Dark vision to a distance and feed you with a solid die roll, or you gain. Yeah, what if that dark vision's useless? Because it's like you roll a d8, oh, the maximum I get is an 8 feet dark vision. That's cool, I guess. Times 5, actually. Yeah, because it means maximum for a d8 would be 5 times 8. That's 40. Yeah, 40 foot. It keeps telling you it's a 5, which means in a 5, if you're using a grid where each square is 5 feet, it works out. Spend the soul. Utilize powers beyond standard capabilities. Negative effects on the body as a reaction. When an ally you see within 30 feet of you fails the saving throw, which you are proficient, you can expend the solid talent die to roll it and add the result of your allies. Roll the result. If you do not have proficiency in throw, you can expend an additional solid talent die to allow to boost their saving throw, which I think is cool. You can increase the ability score. Standard. That's cool. Your intelligence modifier to any psychical force damage roll. Yeah, that's cool. Generally keeps things. It allows you to kind of scale your power up, which I think works, and it keeps within the thing. If it has to be psychical force damage, so any of your weird spells don't get the benefit. It's like you're focused on the psionics. Yep. Yep. And you can maintain concentration. 2 of the same power at once. Yeah, so you stop the doubling up effect. Start of each of your turns, you must use an action to make both powers, so you're stopping them from effectively getting an action and 2 powers, you're keeping that maintenance. If at least one of your powers is not from your order power list at the start of each turn, so it kind of incentivizes you to focus on things that your subclass specializes in. It kind of keeps it tight. The DC equals 10 plus both powers levels combined, or half the damage you take, whichever is higher. Yeah. Basically, Calm Mind, it tries to give you 2 concentrations while being balanced. I still think that's fairly balanced. It has enough things to kind of go, if you want to just succeed, focus this way. If you want to generalize a bit more, you're going to have to put in some maintenance, which I think is fair. So, mastery. You've begun to master your talents. Use your last psionic die. Oh yeah, it's just the classic thing where end game, it's like, yeah, just you always have access to your unique ability. Like, it sounds powerful, but it's actually not that powerful when you compare it to other people. When you assign replenishment, expended on psionic aspect ability, and you can focus on 2 psionic focuses at a time. Technically, I would probably put that as a separate paragraph just so that people know it's 2 separate things. And then 20th level is just, yeah, you're powerful. It's just a roleplay effect. There's a couple of mechanical effects there, but like nothing too ridiculous. And then you head to your subclasses. So, does anyone have any questions? I mean, currently I'm just going to talk through my process of working on this. Feel free to ask any questions either, or just let me know what you're working on, because I'm actually very interested in what other people are working on. Like, this is a space where we can share, we can chat, we can talk. So, subclasses. The general aim was to kind of lean into I guess a trope. Each subclass was kind of a trope. So Awakened is just, it's based off one of the ones that came with the Mystic originally. It's like your Professor X. It's the person who goes, I'm going to go into your mind and see what we can find out. One problem I did have with the Awakened was it and the Nomad kind of, pardon me, clashed. Yeah, so they kind of clashed in that the 2 of them they both kind of wanted to cover the role of investigation. And the problem there is, of course, there's only so many abilities you can have that involve investigating things. So I kind of wanted just to focus Awakened on you are the mind. You are the mind person. You have your psionics are stronger because, of course, all psionics is mind powers. So let's just make you really good at mind powers. So what we gave, what was it I gave? It was Awakened Mind. So yeah, it was, there's a spell in D&D called Detect Thoughts. It allows you to go into someone's mind and kind of get surface level information. So your first level ability is just high. You can use Detect Thoughts once during a short rest or a long rest. When you use it using this feature, you don't need to concentrate on it. And you can use a bonus action to basically get the effects that would normally take an action. And when you probe deeper, it becomes vulnerable to psychic damage, as basically you have made yourself an opening to attack it. That I think all still works. I might still check the wording there. Just sounds a little bit clunky, but I'm not sure if there's a better way to word it. Psionic Scourge is... Oh, yeah, so every subclass had a expend the Sonic die, because I'm basically, while I introduced it at 3rd level as a resource that you could use for the mind, body or soul, depending on what you pick, I also wanted to give the option of each subclass has an extra unique way of using their talent die. Basically, I'm a firm believer of the line of, if you run a game of 5th edition, you should, in theory, be able to run 5 characters who are all the same class, and they should not be the same character. I think I only have 4 subclasses in this, but that is kind of the thing of, if you've taken the same subclass, you could take a different mind, body, or soul option. You could all take the same mind, body, and soul option, but you'd all be a different subclass. So there's always something that keeps you being different to something. There's more choices, and the more choices you have, obviously, the more space you have to not be the same character. And this one was basically, you could use your talent die as well as for whichever you choose in mind, body, and soul. I would probably expect most Awakened to take mind or soul. But basically, this is, you can make someone have disadvantage on a saving throw against one of your powers. So it's like you could buff the damage die, you could give them disadvantage, you can give your friends better advantage. There are some fun things there. And then at 10th level is update. Yeah, I think Awakened Mind was kind of... Was it? I can't remember actually what the original Awakened was. Hold on. Actually, do I have... Mystic 3. See if that loads. I have a sneaking suspicion it might not. Yeah. Something I found recently is that Wizard of the Coast UA section seems to have really stopped working. Let's see, I believe there were some other sites that kind of recorded it. Is this got all of the... to keep the subclasses? Okay, can we just... okay, we'll go here. So, Original Awakened. Oh, you got some skills. Yeah, you get some extra skill proficiencies. You could inflict the disadvantage. Yeah, so you just had Psychic Investigation, which is if you touched an object, you could learn something from it, and then you had Spectral Form, where you could turn into a translucent ghost. God, so I kept basically I kept very little of it. Okay, so yeah, you had Superior Mind, and Superior Mind's thing was 10th level. We took the first level thing, made it better. So the first thing was the Awakened Mind feature applied to all uses of Detect Thoughts. So if you were casting it using your side points, you wouldn't have been getting the first level feature. It was only that once per short or long rest Detect Thoughts. So now all of your Detect Thoughts, whenever you cast it, has the effects of doesn't take concentration, bonus action to get the benefit, and if they fail the save, you get what was it? They become vulnerable to psychic damage. So no matter what the source is, they get all that effect, and then the power targets a number of creatures equal to your int modifier. So you can start going into multiple people's brains. At this point, you kind of are leaning into the Professor X thing, like, I can just go into everyone's brain because I feel like it. And then if you probe deeper and they fail the wisdom saving throw, they can, instead of making them vulnerable to psychic damage, you can charm them. So effectively at this point, you can start going into people's minds, charming a room full of people and going, hi. Admittedly, they all they take the save at the end of each of their turns, or if they get damaged. So it's not more powerful than any charm effect, but effectively saves you taking a charm spell. It's just Detect Thoughts. There is a chance that you're going to make everyone your friend, briefly. And then Thought Form is, again, you can turn yourself into psychic energy. It's a bit more wordy. That's because you have to write a load of words whenever you make someone a ghost, because there is a lot of things that can go wrong there. And that's like, yep, you've mastered being psychic so much you can just turn into pure psychic energy. Battle Mind. Now, Battle Mind was fun. Battle Mind was based entirely on Star Wars. If you didn't know, I'm a giant Star Wars nerd. Battle Mind is just Star Wars. There was it's one of the comics I've got on my bookshelf across the way. It was set during the hyperspace wars of the Republic and the Sith Empire, and there's a bit where Naga Sadao is just sat in a giant floating space station above a star, and he is just projecting through the Force this kind of hallucination that every army is about 3 times as big as it is on all these planets, and so the Republic loses until someone attacks the station, breaks his meditation, and then people realise, wait, the armies are a lot smaller than we thought they were, and they start winning. So that was the battle mind. The battle mind was effectively this concept in Star Wars of battle meditation, where you kind of put yourself slightly out of the combat in order to make everyone else better at combat. So battle mind's main thing is, at first level they start it and then everything else goes afterwards. Effectively, as soon as initiative is called, as a reaction or as an action elsewise, you can go into a meditative trance. You can pick a number of creatures in 30 feet you can see or hear equal to your int modifier. And as long as they don't have a ring of mind protection or so, as long as you can psychically enter their mind, you can coordinate all of their actions as a team. Your speed becomes 0, so you cannot move at all. And if you take any damage, you have to make a concentration saving throw, a concentration check to not lose this effect. And then, yeah, you can kick creatures out, add creatures in, as and when. But it means any touch spells you have, you can just cast as if they were standing next to you. And then, yeah, spells that affect all allies within a set range of you always count creatures within your bubble. And it doesn't sound like a lot. It's like 30 feet. Okay, that isn't great, but the entire class is about this gets better and better as time goes on. So you can I believe there I should put a comma. Wait, no, that doesn't make sense. Hold on. This is fluff, but still, I'm picky about this. You focus on the link between you and your eyes. Each ally you're connected to gets +2 to their initiative, which is why I included the as a reaction to initiative being called. Just as soon as initiative is called, reaction, I activate my battle trance. Like, you're stuck there, but you give everyone a benefit in that they get bonus to their initiative, and you casting a spell. Yeah, so as a reaction, you can let a friend that's using a power spell or ability that uses an ability modifier, using your intelligence modifier. So the example there would be if someone was to cast, you wouldn't use it in combat, but if you were to enhance ability, which can do things like buff your... Actually, no, that wouldn't work. If there was an ability that they had that kind of went, you gain a bonus to damage for your next attack equal to your equal to your wisdom modifier, because it's a cleric. You would go, well, if you want, you can use my intelligence because mine's higher than your whiz. It's like not a great ability, but it's. Well, no, that's not right. It's not a flashy ability, but it has kind of an understated power to it. Then at 10th level, you can use a Sonic Talent die to pick an ally and give them one ability that would be recharged on a short rest. So, what's some of the recharge on a short rest? Druid is out of wild shapes. You could go, right, Sonic Talent die, Druid. Recharge your wild shapes. That kick ass. And while it's using one of your resources, it also cannot be used again until you've completed a short rest. So effectively, you're swapping a short rest for one of their, and a Sonic Talent die for one of their short rests. Which I think is fun. I think it's cool. And it could help a lot. Another one you could feasibly use it for is like a warlock. To recast their spells. It's like, oh, we haven't had a short rest. Why have we not had it? Because one of the warlock's greatest weaknesses is the fact they don't get a lot of short rests. Correction. If a warlock doesn't get a lot of short rests, they are distinctly less powerful than any other caster. But what you could do is go, okay, well, I'm going to use up my Sonic Talent die. And I'm going to give up this ability that's once per short rest. Hi, Warlock, have your spell slots back. And yeah, you can use as an action if you're connected to other Psions, side points. Or a caster's spell slots. And then at 14th level is just a bunch of numbers go up. So you get to start hovering off the ground. You can effectively everyone gets your benefit. So a big one would be clerics have a wonderful ability. Other cast classes, I think, also get access to it, but it's mainly here clerics. It's called Spare the Dying, which is basically a touch. You down on the ground, well, Spare the Dying is a cantrip. You'll not have to make death saving throws. Well, because of battle meditation actually work. Do they have to be conscious? You can see or hear. Oh, they are severed if they become incapacitated. So yeah, so you couldn't use Spare the Dying, but you could theoretically go clerics at the back of the board. There's a monster between the cleric and, we'll say, paladin. And the paladin's low on hit points. Well, the best cleric spell would be Cure Wounds, but that requires touch range. So what they could do is with battle meditation go, instead of me walking into the monster's attack range and hoping I can walk around the monster to get to the paladin to do a touch spell, I can just battle meditation. Here's a Cure Wounds. And I think, one, that's fine because you're 14th level, that there's so much bullshit you're already doing. But also I view it as, if... phrases. My big thing about the old Mystic was very much I can do the job that anyone else can do, meaning every time is my time to shine, not my party members, which lots of stuff in D&D can be broken, but because when you're broken, you're not necessarily overshadowing other people, it gets noticed less. Whereas, so this ability is very good, but because the ability is you are allowing other people their time to shine, I tend to find it isn't as bad, because it effectively means the other players are getting to do something cool. You are just enabling them to do that cool thing. And, you know, you could just sit there like, yep, I helped make sure everybody lived. The other character got to do the cool thing, but still. Alright, so yeah, 14th level is when you can add stuff. Add creatures into your battle meditation, otherwise you have to stop and start. You add your proficiency burst to your int for maximum creatures in the range of 120 feet. This is because at this point was then that kind of Exar Kun, you're starting to go into the realm of I am commanding an army. I mean, it's a very small army. I mean, what, your maximum intelligence generally, if we're not going weird magic, is 20, which is a +5. Proficiency bonus, I believe max is a +6. That's 11 creatures. That's not an army, but you know, you could go. You could imagine this kind of thing where it's like you and a few special heroes dotted about the soldiers, getting buffed and keeping communication going. Because that's another thing, all creatures that can see each other while connected by battle meditation can communicate telepathically. And if you're using flanking rules, effectively you can stop a flanking bonus because through your friend's eyes you can see the fact that someone is coming around the side of you. Yeah, Nomad was another one of the classic ones. So Nomad, let's look up Nomad. Because Nomad's where it gets weird. Because Nomad and Awakened both had this idea of you're the person who goes in and you discover things. And one of the again, my thing of that's all well and good going. I'm going to have 2 subclasses focused on discovery. The problem is you kind of you end up punching the wall because you're like, I want to do this thing, but this other subclass is also doing that thing. So the first thing we did was, yeah, breadth of knowledge from here is what we gave to everybody as part of a core class ability, because it's really good as a class ability just to go, listen, you are so good at knowing things as a mystic, you can every long rest pick your proficiencies. You can pick these extra ones you just gain from the world. So yeah, their thing was they got a teleport. They can't get a teleport, dodge. Yeah, the rest of it turns into teleportation effects. But the thing is, like, as you can see there in the flavor text, it's all about travel, exploration, discovery. But there's no real exploration in the class ability. It's like, I get a dodge. Here for teleport, I get teleport boost. I get a faster movement speed. It's kind of like, here's the lore and here's the other thing, and they're not really linked. So the first thing I did was I noted that Nomad is the... How do I want to describe it? Nomad is the adventuring subclass of the class. Like, Battle Mind is very much like I'm at the battle of the field, I'm helping my allies maneuver. Awakened is like I'm going into your mind to get information. Whereas Nomad is, I want to adventure, I want to get out there, go into dungeons, do stuff. So that's why they get proficiency in martial weapons and medium armor shields. Do they have simple weapons? Yeah, they should have. Just not called class of simple weapons. Simple weapons, light armor. Simple weapons, light armor. So that's fine. I wasn't originally going to give them shields, but it turns out if you give someone medium armor in the rules, it is kind of, there isn't ever a state where you get medium armor without shields. It's just medium armor and shields. So that's what we did. You get medium armor, shields, martial weapons. You're you're not walking around in plate, but you're a bit more an adventurer than most, and you get and at the first level you get the dodge. So it's basically, as long as you keep moving, you kind of get a bit of a tracer thing, where as long as you keep moving, you can jump backwards in time effectively to an earlier space to dodge an attack, but you only get that once per short rest. And then anchored footing is... Oh, that's one thing I added a bit of wording, because you could sit there going, well, if I move... If I take a step to the left... So if I'm stood in one space, I take a 5-foot step to the left, my party member takes the space I was in. With this effect, you could technically say that the space you're currently stood in, you teleport out, then teleport back, missing the attack. To which my line was, no, that's considered occupied, so you have to pick a space that's empty earlier in your route, so you can't just stay where you are. You end up teleporting. You do end up teleporting and moving. What was 6th level? 6th level... Oh, 6th level is basically, you got you got something you could you basically create this little anchor and you go, right, as long as I'm in teleportation range, I don't need to see the spot. I can just always teleport back to this safe spot. So at low levels, you always need to keep making a new one fairly close to you. But at higher levels, it's like, okay, great, we're going to stand over here and made this marker, so I don't need to worry about any of the weird teleportation checks of, do I know the area, stuff like that, and I'm just going to go teleport back to it with my friends. Like, it's an ability that gets better the higher level that you are. But even at low level, it's still somewhat useful. It is weird giving 2 6th level abilities, but when you consider how niche both are, it kind of makes sense. This was the thing. With this class, there was a lot of trying to fit the discovery elements and the teleport elements to it. So the other 6th level skill was what Awakened used to have, which is basically you can touch an object and learn about it. Then 10th level, this... Yeah. 10th level is weird. 10th level is one that I've never been quite comfortable of the wording. Like, I know what I want it to do, but I'm not sure if I've worded it right. So basically, it is, you use a sonic talent die, and you learn secrets. It's effectively your spider sense, or it's an adventurous spider sense. And you use a sonic talent die, and you can sense an object in the room, which is a container, or is itself considered a secret. Or you can detect a door or passage that is hidden. Basically, if, say, there was an object and a door, you would pick which of the two, and the DM would pick one of the chosen type at random. Say if your room of 3 objects, 2 secret passages, you would pick object or passage, and then the DM would pick between those items which you learn about. And yeah, it's like, you may see the phylactery hidden in the gullet of a mimic disguised as a chest, but you won't see. Yeah, basically you'll see the object, but you won't. It doesn't tell you. You know an object's there, but you don't know how to get through the many objects between you and this thing you're trying to get to. And then it's blocked by the standard divination width of material. And you only get to use it once per short or long rest, so you can't just sit there going, I'm going to use all my die to discover all the things in this one room. You only get one, which I think is very fair. But it is the classic thing where I sit there just going, is the wording clunky? I think it works, it's just that bit where I just constantly come back to that one going, does it work? I know what I want to do, and I know how I want it to work, it's just, ugh. And then the Master Explorer is just, you can replace up to 30 feet of movement with teleporting. And then as an action, you can learn knowledge about the area around you. It's just that classic kind of thing. It's just that classic kind of ability where you go, what knowledge do I gain about the local area? It's which I think this is a bit more fun based. You get a few bits of teleportation, but you also get a lot of information gathering. Like, you are the adventurer subclass. Order of the Shaper was another one I added. It was basically let's have a subclass that's all about creating things with just your imagination. Because the astral plane is like this plane of dreams where you can shape things by imagining it. So shapers are like, you could effectively bring some of the astral plane into the material plane to shape things. So yeah, it's basically starting, you gain two abilities. You can create a construct and you can create items, and then when you summon the construct or items, you can give them abilities from a set list, augments, and then as you level, you gain more augment slots. It's a clunky subclass. That's my biggest criticism of the subclass, is it's another clunky subclass where I know what I want to do, but wording it can be incredibly difficult. The easiest way I looked at it was making these two spells, because it was like, oh yeah, I basically wrote out the spells and the abilities, but it didn't work. But if you summon a construct, you can have it have a personality and memories. So if you wanted to go like, you have an imaginary friend, and that is the thing you construct, you can just keep the imaginary friend's personality and memories from each iteration. It's a bit like familiars in that you can do touch spells through them. And you can manifest the spell again if they're still up to basically reset them. So it's a bit like with a chocobo, where if you've summoned the chocobo in FF14 and you've already got over half an hour left on the timer, it will just basically top it back up to the hour mark, and that's it. And then you get an augment slot to customize it, and then Crystal Singer. Yeah, so Shapers, it was originally started as kind of a Peter Pan. It's let's have the class of basically the character who's very childish imagination. They're very creative, and they just make the things they imagine come to life. And then it ended up having a bit of Bone Singers from the Eldari of Warhammer 40k, hence Crystal Singer, in the kind of you sing songs to just bring out greater effects of your crystal constructs. Um, and when, yes, because the subclass got access to the is basically, got to take a step back a second. Original Mystic had a problem. The original Mystic had a problem in that every discipline had a subclass associated with it. And it was basically when you started at level 1 as a Mystic, you would have a couple of disciplines from your that were tied to your subclass. And then as you gain levels, you just take any. And the problem there was it let the broken subclasses get access to all of the spells, meaning they could just pick the broken combinations. How old Mystic worked was there was greater and lesser powers, and basically greater powers you could only access if you were of the appropriate subclass. So I kind of copied in that every subclass has a separate spell list on top of the regular spell list. They don't know all the spells. That's very important. They do not know all the spells on their second spell list. But what they can do is it's effectively a second spell list they can learn. Sorry, just a second, I just need to cough a second. Right, back. Really sorry about that. Okay. Okay, we're fine. We're fine. So, so I basically made every subclass had a spell list because it kind of contained the more powerful elements of each subclass. Like there is a generic spell list, but some of the weirder stuff it stops the cross pollination. So, but it also allows me to pick spells that maybe you don't want every scion to have, but that really suit and encapsulate the story of that subclass they can have access to. So one of them is they get the Tasha's Cauldron of Everything spells, the summon spells. And basically what is said is you can apply that spell into your construct. And basically it gains abilities, traits, and actions that spelled creature would have. So it still does the same stat block as your construct. It's just kind of it gains some extra tools. Yeah, the hit points, AC, and ability scores remain the same. And then Resonance Link was your Sonic Talent Die effect, which is yeah, basically you can let the construct, or if someone's holding the item, to make an additional action. And then if it's an item, the action has to use the item, so either an attack or if it's spellcasting focus, casting a spell, which is cool. And then bonded shaping. Alright, yeah, basically you get to use your int modifier for the creature, or if anyone's using your item to buff something, they can use your int. Force damage for the claws. Basically, it's a bunch of, how do I want to phrase it? It's a bunch of kind of housekeeping standard. You have a pet, let's buff that pet a little just to keep it in the competitive. Use reaction to add your int modifier to result. Yeah. And then 14 is Master Shaper, which is basically you get to go to the Astral Sea and make yourself a workshop where you can modify things better. Yeah. This bit's a bit clunky, but that's because I wanted something that was very... I don't know how to phrase it. It's very specific. That's because it's a very specific kind of story I wanted to tell of it. And then augments like... What's the rule for augment? You can use multiple of the same augments. Cumulative bonuses go no higher than 3. The number of augment slots increases. Augment. Yeah. So basically you get bonus to AC, bonus to yeah, the item becomes a +1 item, and basically you can use extra slots to increase it. So yeah, there are some fun ones. It's basically customize it, make it look unique, make it your own. But the fun thing, I just like the subclass because it's basically a high, like we describe it as a crystalline thing, but that doesn't mean it has to look crystalline. It's just use your imagination, make something cool with your imagination. And mechanically it has these rules, but it could be whatever you want. You're just using your imagination to make stuff out of thin air, which I like. And then Soulfire. Soulfire is the other one where I have this problem of the thing I made is clunky. This one was actually one that was inspired by my friend, the one who was playing Psion. Well, he was playing the Mystic UI. Because my friend basically went, you know what this game doesn't have? It's the Blaster or the Kineticist. It's got different names for different RPGs. But it's basically the... I want to modify spells using hit points. I want to do something similar to meta magic, but I want it to have a physical cost. And I went, okay. Well, it suits Psion because Psion's entire thing is, as we've seen through these other things, it is playing with science, it's playing with, to a degree, turning matter into energy. I mean, the awakened Psion could already do this, and that they can eventually turn their entire body into psychic energy for a period of time. And if you take the body option, you're using your psionics to twist your body temporarily into an alternate form. So Soulfire is just in keeping with that, in that you're literally converting your body into energy. So level 1 is fairly... It's a lot in the effect. It's a very big effect, text-wise, but it's actually incredibly simple. It's basically when you make a power happen, before dice are rolled, you can modify it. In this way, it is a bit like dang it, what's meta magic? It's like meta magic. The key difference is meta magic, you use sorcery points. This, you use health points. And basically the rule is you lose hit points and you reduce your maximum hit points by that amount. And your hit point reduction lasts until you finish a long rest, and you cannot reduce the damage taken in any way, or hit point loss reduction by any way. And this is probably the one that needs the most playtest, because obviously numbers are a precocious little thing. But you've got bioelectrical healing. You can reduce your hit points by 5. To enhance a spell that does healing by also giving them resistance for a minute to fire or cold damage. And for every die they roll, increase the hit points gained by 1. So effectively it's X dice plus X is the healing, total healing done, plus anything else that the specific healing power gives. Then your soul accelerated power, which is you can make a non-touch spell increase its range by reducing your hit points by 2 to double the range of the power. If the power has a range of touch, you can reduce your hit points by 2 to give it a range of 30 feet. The numbers are fairly small, like 5 to give resistance and increase healing by 1 per die, 2 to double the range. Well, part of the thing is, if you think about it, the hit die of this class is a d6. So unless they're putting a lot into con, they're going to die really quickly if they use too many of these skills. Like, half of these things will basically reduce a character to 1 hit point maximum for a day. Soul charged power, when you cast, yes, there are certain bioenergy spells that the subclass has access to. You can get 2 elemental abilities for 5 hit points. Cursed power is you can give a creature disadvantage for 6 hit points. Target creature. You can enhance a power that's only one target creature at the current level doesn't have a range of self. Yeah, so you can lose hit points based on the power's level to hit a second creature. Soul powered power. You enhance a power that has the ability to increase the power with more side points spent on it, reducing your hit points to twice the difference to a maximum of 5th level. Yeah, and you ignore your sight. Basically, soul powered power is basically, I'm going to up the power of a spell earlier than I normally can. But it's going to cost me a lot of hit points. And then soul seeking power is is you can spend 4 hit points to reroll a d20 to see if you hit. Like, the numbers are low, but they will add up. And then metabolic regeneration. Oh, this one was basically the try to offset that, because obviously your maximum hit points go down. So what we obviously want is you to be able to try and stay up for as long as possible. So it was basically you get regeneration if you have at least 1 hit point remaining, so you're not on 0. You gain your level in hit points. Though fire and acid damage, like all regeneration, stops it. And if you're not focusing on your psionic focus. With a cost being you need to eat twice the amount of food, or you get 2 degrees of exhaustion for not eating enough. Basically, there's a lot of self. I like to think of it as self-balance, where something is good, but there are costs. This class is very much power at a cost. 10th level, this used to be actually a core Psion ability. And I believe it was at 10th or 11th level you got this ability, which was basically you could use hit points to regain psi points. Yeah, you can cast a spell by using hit points instead of psi points. And again, it reduces your hit point maximum. So this is really a class that also you not only want to buff your int, you really need to buff your con. Like, the one thing I could eventually see someone saying to me is, listen, you actually need to either cut some of the reduced hit point maximums, or you need to reduce the numbers that they're reduced by, especially considering this class only has a d6 hit die. One thing I could theoretically see as another balancing option is theoretically going, when you roll a hit die to gain hit points when you gain a level, I could theoretically see a thing where it's like, if you roll a 1 or a 2, you treat it as a 3. So that every level they're always gaining at least 3 plus their con hit points. Right now. That's a way you could get around it. Consumptive power. Yes, basically you're making them pay hit points. Yeah, and then they're getting a thing that allows them to... It was the update of soul-powered power. Because it had a maximum of 5th level spells. This now let you go to 10th level. Though 10th level only affected things where it increases the number of power levels rather than set numbers. So, like, there are some things where Cure Wounds, for example, goes for every spell slot, level of spell slot, you get an additional die. Effectively, by setting 10th level, it's like, well, you get 1 more die than you would by using a 9th level. Simple as. If something does increase your spell level, then it doesn't really do anything. And then, yeah. When... Yes, this was... You could use it. Yes, a moment of stasis is basically the oh fuck button of... As a reaction when using an ability granted by this order of or a psion power that would reduce your hit point maximum, you can use your psionic talent die to ignore the reduction to your hit point maximum. You still lose the hit points, just you don't reduce the maximum. Which I think is fair. It gives you one basic use of one of these abilities without Short. Short or long rest. I would maybe actually ask, do you want to make this more once a short rest? Maybe. You don't want to let them use it too much that they ignore the cost, but it would be another way of getting around the fact there's a lot of cost in this class going well. You can use a number of times you click proficiency bonus, you're still having to use a psionic talent die, which are limited, so you're still burning resources. Theoretically, that's a thing you could do. What do you think, chat? Then there's the soul fire, which I have never been happy with the wording of. Soul fire is such... Unleash the soul fire is basically what we like to call in the game burn to shine. Burn to shine basically being I am going to shine oh so brightly as I do this one epic deed. And I'm gonna die doing it. Like, it is literally you're dying to shine. And there's no good way of doing it. There's D&D is not a game that's actually made for burn to shine. So I don't know why I keep bashing my head against this thing trying to make it work. Because I'm a fool, that's why. It's as an action. All creatures within 60 feet must pass a dexterity saving throw. On a failed save, they're blinded. And dealt damage equal to your remaining hit die. You may choose if the damage is fire, radiant, or necrotic, and if your number of hit die equal to your character level, any creature who failed saving throw are also paralyzed. On a success, they take half damage, suffer no additional effects. Once the ability is resolved, you are immediately reduced to 0 hit points with 3 failed death saving throws. No ability can prevent this. You must roll a single d20 on a roll of a 10 or more. You leave behind ashes on 9 left, so you leave nothing behind. So ashes would mean that you could be brought back from the dead. The roll for dying with psionic body feature occurs after this only if you left behind some ashes. So what I have thoughts. I'm thinking Constitution saving throw. They still take the damage no matter what the result of the save. It's whether or not they get hit by blinded and paralysed. And if they're reduced to 0, they are disintegrated. And maybe say you can use psionic talent die to make per psionic talent die you can make one creature immune from the effects of the soul fire. So effectively you can go, right, I'm going to burn everything I have to... Yeah, because I think the reason I originally had issues with this was I was trying to go... I originally wanted to do it where I was uncertain whether I wanted to do the amount of hit points you were missing or the amount of hit points you had. Well, I didn't know whether originally I wanted to do it where. How do you calculate damage? Do you calculate it by the amount of hit points missing? So is it the harder that they are hit and closer to death, the bigger the flame? Or is it the opposite, where it's the earlier in the fight you want to do it, but really you don't ever want to burn to shine at the start of the fight, you want to burn to shine at the, it's desperate, all my friends are about to die, but I'm going to do this action to save them all. It is your chance to die, but in dying you will achieve something. So, worst case scenario is you have 20d6, which means the maximum damage you can deal is 20d6. 20d6 is... Thinking. 20d6 would be 120 hit points, which is not that much. Thought, chat. Thought. You can use two psionic sand die per creature. The reason you want to do it, well, how many psionic sand die do they usually have? Some sand die, nope. So psionic sand die, talent die, starting size of the d8, you have the number of these equal to type or proficiency bonus. So at this point they have about 10 or 12. 10 or 12. So I thought I either make it 2 psionic talent die, at which point they're saving 5 or 6 people, or I make it 1 talent die, at which point they can save 12 people. "60-foot radius. The other thing you gotta take into account is that they could have used some earlier in the fight. So yeah, if you go 1 psionic talent die per person, gives you some flexibility and some leniency in the system. You go for a psionic talent die, you can protect a person. 1 person is spared damage. You can use this a number of times equal to psionic sand die you have remaining. And then what you say is you can spend a hit die obviously, by spending this hit die, you are reducing the amount of damage in total you are dealing. Oh, see, I'm debating. You could either do hit die to reduce the number of damage, or you could go to talent die. So it's basically 2 lives saved for 1 creature, and basically that creature has vulnerability. It loses immunity or resistance, it just has vulnerability to this attack. And there's only 1 creature. And the reason I would make it a con save is it means no one could be a rogue and basically dodge a burn to shine because they passed a save. Yeah. Okay, yeah, that works. Dear God, it's nearly 7 o'clock. Okay. So, this was helpful. As I said, this for me is taking a chance in getting a bit of time out to... As I said, streaming lets me go, basically. This amount of time, I'm going to play a game. This amount of time, I'm going to do something productive. So in going, hi, I'm going to spend this stream just doing some games design. It lets me basically do a task that I was already sitting there going, I need to set aside time to do it, not finding the time to do, and basically going, yeah, I have the time for it now because I'm streaming it. I said, I'm only thinking maybe doing this as a once per month, once every other month thing. It's not going to be a common thing, don't worry. And I would probably try to basically go either it's a 3rd stream on a week I would do 2, or a 4th stream on a week I'd do 3. Can't not take content away for it. And again, I think what it'd be is I basically go, yo, I'm going to do something that isn't game related, that I've been meaning to focus on. Could be editing a video for YouTube, could be streaming, could be games design. And basically go, while we're here, ask me any questions. Do you want to know about how the streaming is going? Do you want to know about the channel updates in general? Do you have any questions? And if you want to ask questions about games design, world building and stuff, we can talk about it. But the big thing is it gives me a chance to focus on getting the work done that I might not necessarily be able to myself go, I'm going to budget the time to do this bit of work here. So yeah, I hope this has been, I hope it A, hasn't been boring, and B, has been useful to you guys. Like, I don't really want to sit here running a stream and it being like, oh, you know, useless. You were just talking to yourself. I didn't learn anything. I didn't gain anything from it. So yeah, hopefully it was entertaining, or you got something out of it. Right. Let's have a check. Here comes the question: are people starting streams, or are they? Okay, let's have a look. We're gonna do some. We're gonna see who's doing what. Okay, let's mute this. Okay, it's muted. Just gotta wait for the advert to pass. starting soon. Cool. Okay, we're gonna raid a wonderful streamer by the name of Wreck It Raven. Give them your support, give them your love, and yeah, we will see you all. Well, actually, we'll see you all tomorrow, because tomorrow we are doing more FF14. We will be doing a combination of. We'll be doing a combination of Four Lords and potentially Prelude in Violet. Potentially, I'm not going to promise that. But yeah, thank you everyone for coming. Thank you everyone for joining, and we will see you all next time.